The world may owe America a second look. That was the unexpected yet heartfelt conclusion shared by countless international visitors after experiencing the World Cup in the United States. For years, headlines across the globe had portrayed America as a place defined by hostility, danger, and deep division, causing many European fans to arrive carrying doubts and long-held stereotypes. But the reality waiting for them told a completely different story. Strangers offering to pay for a meal, welcoming police officers helping confused tourists find their way, and neighbors in Texas inviting complete outsiders to enjoy a backyard barbecue. That overwhelming warmth left thousands questioning everything they had believed. They discovered that once they looked beyond the headlines and ignored the constant media noise, America revealed itself as a nation bound together by generosity, openness, and a powerful sense of freedom. Now, let's uncover the 10 most astonishing experiences that left international fans stunned as they encountered the world's leading superpower for the very first time. Stepping out of the airport in the United States for the World Cup, most European fans expected their first unforgettable moment to come from the electric football atmosphere. Instead, the biggest shock arrived instantly and from the last place they expected. It was the overwhelming scale surrounding them. An endless stretch of land that shattered everything they had ever believed about distance, making every familiar sense of space suddenly feel unbelievably small.
And it blows my mind that I've been to America. If you now were to drive in Europe across France, Belgium, Netherlands, Germany, Luxembourg, Austria, and Switzerland, so 7 different European countries, and you took the amount of time you drove across them countries in Europe, you still wouldn't make it across Texas. You still wouldn't. How insane is that? And that's just one state.
For most Europeans, a country is something you can cross after just a few hours on a train. Back home, a 2-hour drive might expose you to a new language, a different local dish, and even a different currency. But everything changes the moment you arrive in America. You get behind the wheel, press the accelerator, and keep driving for 12 to 14 straight hours across Texas. The fuel gauge starts dropping, your back begins to ache, and when you finally check the map, the surprise is almost unbelievable. You are still in Texas. That single journey is long enough to cover the entire length of the United Kingdom or pass through 7 Central European countries without ever leaving the borders of just one American state. The sheer scale of America's geography left many European visitors both amazed and completely overwhelmed. Book a domestic flight from San Diego to New York, and you'll spend nearly 7 hours in the air, the same amount of time it takes to fly from New York across the Atlantic Ocean back to London. On paper, you're only traveling to another city for a football match. In reality, it feels as though you've crossed half the world. Even more astonishing, America's national parks stretch across nearly 133,000 square miles, an area larger than the entire United Kingdom.
I'm convinced Europeans experience distance differently than Americans because I'm in a long-distance relationship with my boyfriend right now. Every time I bring it up to someone who lives in Europe, they're like, oh, I did long distance before. I only saw my boyfriend every, 3 months. It was so hard. I was like, oh my God, 3 months. How far do you guys live from each other? Thinking it was at least, a continent away. And they're always like, oh, it was a 3-hour drive. I just couldn't justify making that every month. And I was like, my boyfriend and I lived an 8-hour drive. And we still saw each other, once a month when I was doing college in the States. And these people are fiancés or married. You only live 3 hours away from your significant other and you're not willing to make that drive. But I also guess that makes sense because you can drive 3 hours and be in a completely different country here. But if you drive 3 hours from San Diego or OC, you're still in Southern California.
What many Americans see as a completely normal commute can feel unbelievable to most British or French visitors. Driving 2 hours to work every single day is simply part of everyday life. In America, everything seems as if it has been enlarged beyond imagination. Massive highways, some stretching up to 26 lanes wide, weave over and under one another like towering concrete giants, completely rewriting everything Europeans know about traffic after growing up on the narrow, historic streets of Paris or London.
Look at that. Katy Freeway I-10, the biggest, widest road in the world.
Step into the parking lot of Costco, and the first thing that grabs your attention is its unbelievable size. It feels more like a packed sports stadium, filled with enormous trucks stretching in every direction. Even the idea of a neighbor takes on a completely different meaning in America. This is one nation spread across 4 different time zones. Call a friend on the West Coast at 8 p.m., and they may answer while the sun is still shining outside. That enormous scale isn't just something you see. It's something you actually feel. It creates a strange psychological pressure, making even Europe's world-famous public transportation seem powerless against the sheer size of the country. Walking is rarely practical, and depending on a bus to reach a stadium on time often isn't an option. So think about it. After driving for half a day, burning through 2 full tanks of fuel, and still seeing the same state's welcome sign, is this brilliant planning or a system that quietly locks people inside 4-wheeled machines? Have you ever needed Google Maps just to remember where you parked in a supermarket lot? Yet the true surprise isn't the roads or the land itself. The biggest culture shock begins when that gigantic world somehow fits beneath one enormous roof called Walmart. The truth is, many European fans traveled to America expecting the World Cup to be the most unforgettable part of their journey. But the moment that truly left them speechless happened somewhere no one could have predicted. It had nothing to do with football. Instead, it unfolded inside a place that completely transformed the way they viewed everyday life.
I can't believe it.
Are you joking me?
Okay, you don't have to go overboard. We know they have
1.26 kilos. I mean, look at this. Look at the size of it, huh?
That's Walmart, a place many visitors describe as the true kingdom of abundance. The moment you walk in, the sheer size is almost impossible to process. Some locations are so enormous that they even use their own postal codes for management. Across Europe, most people are used to compact neighborhood stores where you stop for a few apples and a freshly baked baguette. But inside Walmart, that familiar picture disappears completely. One moment you're looking at stacks of fresh bananas and vegetables, and the next you're staring at rows of car tires carrying the unmistakable smell of rubber. Practical convenience or total chaos? Opinions differ, yet for many Americans, that's exactly how shopping should feel. Walk even farther inside, and you're greeted by endless aisles of groceries stretching far beyond what most visitors ever expected. Hundreds of choices line every aisle, packed with brightly colored products that look more like science experiments than everyday breakfast foods. The bags of potato chips are so enormous they can seem almost the size of a full-grown adult. Then come the gallon-sized bottles of milk and baby formula, each holding nearly 4 liters. Back in Europe, containers that large are usually reserved for floor cleaner or windshield washer fluid, making the entire display feel both unbelievable and strangely fascinating at the same time. If you arrive here in October to shop for a football game, don't be surprised if the Christmas section has already taken over entire aisles weeks ahead of schedule. In America, people don't simply wait for the future. They put it on the shelves months before it arrives. It feels less like ordinary shopping and more like stepping into a scene that shouldn't exist outside imagination. Everything you've watched in Hollywood films about America, from Times Square to the iconic yellow school buses, suddenly feels real. Only now it's all packed inside one gigantic warehouse. The place is so enormous that many shoppers rely on the store's digital map just to locate a simple box of matches. It's so massive that electric shopping carts are available to help customers move quickly from one end to the other. And if hunger strikes during the journey, there's no need to leave, because a McDonald's or Subway is often waiting inside to keep you going. You can even pick up melatonin and dozens of over-the-counter medicines here. Items that, in England or France, might require appointments or much stricter pharmacy procedures.
You can type in what you want and then it will give you a map of where it is in the store. What's melatonin? Because you can't really get melatonin in the UK.
Here's the aisle.
Oh wow.
And it tells me exactly where in the store it's located.
This way.
Behind all of this overwhelming spectacle lies one powerful reason: prices that seem almost impossible to believe. A small iron for just $13. In America, products are made, bought, and replaced at an astonishing speed that leaves many first-time visitors completely stunned. Have you ever walked into Walmart planning to buy nothing more than a carton of milk, only to walk out with a brand new set of tires? It sounds unbelievable, yet stories like this are surprisingly common. So, is this endless abundance the ultimate symbol of freedom and choice? Or is it a carefully designed consumer machine quietly pulling people into buying far more than they ever intended? But if you think you've already seen the most astonishing side of America, think again. Beyond the giant supermarkets where adults cruise through the aisles in electric carts, an even grander spectacle is waiting. A place where Gen Z athletes compete with the passion, energy, and larger-than-life presence of ancient Greek legends. If you're traveling to the United States for the World Cup, you probably expect the professional football stadiums to leave the biggest impression. But for countless international visitors, the greatest surprise comes from somewhere no one sees coming: student stadiums. That's where the real culture shock begins. In England or Germany, college sports often mean a handful of young players kicking a worn-out ball across a field beside a parking lot, watched by little more than a couple of stray dogs and an aging security guard. In America, however, school sports feel as though the Olympics and the Super Bowl have been merged into one unforgettable spectacle.
So if you're American, let me know if you could live without these things. Number 1, college sports. In the UK, university sports is basically 7 people playing football next to a car park. In America, college sports looks like the Olympics had a baby with the Super Bowl. We're talking sellout crowds, marching bands, fireworks, mascots on a paid salary. I thought people would stop supporting their college teams. Oh no, I asked somebody, how long will you support this team for? You know what they said? Forever.
High schools across Texas and universities throughout Alabama regularly fill stadiums that hold tens of thousands of spectators, with tickets often selling out months before kickoff. Just imagine it: 17 or 18-year-old students competing in front of crowds inside arenas that are even larger than the home grounds of many professional clubs playing in Europe's top football divisions. For many international visitors, that level of passion feels almost impossible to believe. This is no longer just a game. It feels like a full-scale Hollywood production brought to life. Massive marching bands made up of hundreds of musicians, breathtaking fireworks, and perfectly synchronized dance performances turn every event into an unforgettable spectacle. The locker rooms, medical facilities, and training equipment are so advanced they look as if they were taken straight from the science fiction world of Back to the Future. Even the performers behind the mascots of major American universities are paid, trained, and treated with the same professionalism expected from elite-level entertainers. Americans have a tradition that many international visitors find almost impossible to understand: loyalty that lasts a lifetime. While some European fans may switch clubs after relegation or disappointing seasons, many Americans remain devoted to their alma mater's team forever because it represents their identity, memories, and youth. Yet the biggest culture shock isn't their loyalty, it's the way they experience sports. Across Europe, 90 minutes of football can feel like a battle for survival, with non-stop shouting, intense emotions, and every eye locked on the pitch. In America, especially during baseball or school football games, the atmosphere is completely different. People arrive to eat, laugh, and spend time together as much as they come to watch the game. They carry oversized burger trays, sip cold beer, chat with friends, sometimes even turning their backs to the field, only looking up when the crowd suddenly erupts into applause. For them, sports are less about conflict and more about bringing people together. That relaxed but energetic atmosphere removes much of the tension. While police at football matches in Italy or Spain often stand ready in riot gear with batons, Officers at many American sporting events usually keep their distance, smile, and allow everyone to enjoy the occasion peacefully. What do you think about teenagers who haven't even finished high school, yet perform under the pressure of more than 40,000 cheering spectators? Is turning school sports into a multi-million-dollar industry the ultimate way to build future champions? Or does it quietly take away the carefree spirit of youth? Would you encourage your own children or grandchildren to chase that dream by moving to America in hopes of becoming football stars? Yet after all the roaring crowds and unforgettable stadium spectacles, the moment that truly softened the hearts of many skeptical European fans came from somewhere completely unexpected. It wasn't the fireworks or the final whistle. It was the simple, heartfelt kindness shown by complete strangers on the streets of America. Before many European fans packed their bags for the World Cup in the United States, they had already accepted a familiar image painted by the media. Americans were rude, selfish, and emotionally distant, shaped by a culture of extreme individualism. But the moment they landed on American soil, those beliefs were shattered almost instantly. Reality delivered a surprise they never expected. Take this unforgettable moment at Quincy Market in Boston. A group of Scottish supporters, proudly wearing their traditional kilts, gathered in a restaurant to celebrate together. When they asked for the bill, the waiter smiled and quietly said, "Your entire dinner has already been paid for by a stranger who was sitting at the next table. Before leaving, they only asked me to tell you one thing. I'm so glad you came to America." There were no hidden cameras, no publicity stunt, and no social media performance. It was simply an unexpected act of kindness. For many visitors, Americans proved to be remarkably warm, welcoming, and genuinely humble. Another surprise was America's culture of conversation, where talking to complete strangers feels completely natural. In London or Paris, staring at someone on the subway for more than 3 seconds might make them think you're a creep or a threat, planning to pick your pocket. In America, the experience is completely different. Whether you're sitting on a bus, waiting in line at 7-Eleven, or simply walking down the street, complete strangers might compliment your shoes, ask where you're visiting from, predict who will win the championship, or casually share stories from their own lives as if you'd known each other for years. Looking confused? There's a good chance someone won't just point you in the right direction. They'll actually walk a few blocks with you to make sure you arrive safely. Travel to Arizona and meet ranchers like Gabe, and you may find them happily spending an entire afternoon showing you around the farm, proudly introducing you to Western traditions without expecting you to buy a single souvenir. That constant optimism and friendliness leaves many visitors genuinely surprised. Even seeing American police officers buying snacks for homeless people or happily posing for photos with football fans completely reshapes long-held opinions about law enforcement. For many Europeans, this level of kindness almost feels suspicious. They're used to caution, distance, and questioning everyone's intentions. So when a neighbor you've only just met invites you over for dinner or asks you to join a weekend hunting trip, your first thought might be, what do they really want from me? The surprising answer is, nothing at all. They simply want you to enjoy your time in America. It's a place where many visitors feel free to be themselves without constantly worrying about being judged. So what do you think? Is the warmth and the constant smile on the faces of Americans a natural sign of genuine sincerity, or simply the result of a culture fueled by too much free Coca-Cola? Would anyone really believe that a complete stranger would pay for their dinner in a place they've never been before? And when the conversation turns to Coca-Cola and food, there's another everyday privilege in America that leaves many Europeans completely amazed. A dining experience they consider nothing less than economic magic. Here's the paradox. America is widely known as the ultimate symbol of practical capitalism, where almost everything has a price tag. But the moment European fans stepped into an American restaurant, they discovered a level of generosity they never expected. It's called the free refill culture, unlimited drink refills. Let's do a simple comparison. In London or Paris, you walk into a restaurant and order a Coca-Cola. It costs around £4, or more than $5. After just a few sips, your glass is empty. Want another one? You'll need to pay another £4. In Europe, ordering another drink can sometimes feel like applying for a second mortgage. But in America, you spend only $3 to $5 on your first glass, and that's when the surprise begins. Waiters in American restaurants seem to appear at exactly the right moment. The instant your glass is half empty, they return with a smile and refill it again, completely free. Many European tourists were genuinely amazed by this simple act of generosity. One fan visiting Texas even joked, "A glass of Sprite in this state never seems to end." With every meal, you can naturally save between $12 and $16 simply by not having to pay for a second or third glass. That amazement soon turned into genuine disbelief. Many European visitors found themselves wondering, have we misunderstood America all this time? This unlimited approach doesn't stop at soft drinks. It extends from sushi buffets to weekend brunches, completely reshaping the way tourists think about dining. Some even joke that they wish they could be adopted by America just to enjoy free refills forever. So how many drinks would you finish if every refill cost absolutely nothing? Has anyone ever joked about bringing a 5-liter container into a restaurant just to test the limits? But once you've had more soda than you can handle, something else begins calling your name. Something richer, heavier, and impossible to ignore. And that's exactly where Texas welcomes you into a completely different religion. Before arriving in America, most European football fans believed American food was nothing more than industrial burgers and greasy slices of pizza. It was a huge misconception that disappeared the moment they were introduced to the highest form of Texas cuisine, Texas barbecue. In Texas, barbecue isn't simply food. It's a religion, and the pit masters are its priests. The first thing that completely stuns visitors is the famous dino ribs. Dinosaur ribs. They're enormous beef ribs, with a single serving weighing as much as 1.5 pounds, nearly 0.7 kilograms. The moment you gently press the beef brisket with a fork, the meat is so unbelievably tender that it falls apart, like warm butter. It's so rich, juicy, and packed with flavor that another surprise immediately follows. You don't need any sauce. Not even a single drop. The meat alone, slowly smoked over oak wood for 16 hours, is already a masterpiece. Listen to the reaction of a German fan, someone raised in one of Europe's most famous sausage cultures. "This is the best sausage I've ever eaten in my life." The deep, smoky aroma from traditional wood-fired pits settles into your senses, awakening something almost instinctive. In America, meat is served family-style on enormous platters loaded with ribs, brisket, pork belly, and mashed potatoes. Here, well-dressed European gentlemen wearing napkins around their necks suddenly forget their manners, pulling meat apart with their bare hands like true hunters. Even the barbecue sauce isn't served in tiny, elegant dishes. It's poured into large bowls that look more like soup bowls back home. Watching it all unfold, one devoted fan finally admitted, "I'm never going home. Please cancel my flight." A single meat platter can cost close to $100, but according to those who try it, every dollar is worth it. If there were a world championship for strategic laziness, Americans would probably walk away with the gold medal. While visiting the United States for the World Cup, many European fans discovered a society designed so you barely have to leave your car. Welcome to the kingdom of drive-thru. In Europe, drive-thrus are mostly limited to a few roadside McDonald's locations. But in America, the idea reaches an entirely different level. You can drive up to a pharmacy to collect cold medicine, stop at a barbecue restaurant to pick up a giant rack of ribs, and then experience the ultimate surprise, a drive-thru bank. Yes, it's real. You simply pull up to a window that looks like a bank counter, deposit checks, or withdraw thousands of dollars while your car's air conditioner keeps blowing cool air. Now compare that with home. In England or France, visiting a bank can feel like attending a meeting about the global financial crisis. First you search for parking, then walk inside, and finally wait 20 to 25 minutes just to speak with a tired-looking employee. One British tourist jokingly remarked, "It seems Americans have become too lazy to walk into a building just to handle their money." That level of convenience quickly becomes addictive. After only a few days in the United States, football fans who once enjoyed walking for miles across Europe found themselves sitting patiently in rental cars, waiting in line for a Dunkin' coffee through the drive-thru window. It perfectly reflects a society built around four wheels, laziness, or the ultimate level of convenience. Time optimization in a country so unbelievably vast? The answer is yours to decide. The next visual surprise that catches the attention of many European football fans while walking through World Cup host cities isn't the towering skyscrapers. It's the flags. American flags seem to be everywhere, flying above factories, hanging from front porches, mounted on massive trucks racing down the highways, and even printed on tissue boxes inside supermarkets. In Europe, displaying the national flag outside your home on an ordinary day can attract curious looks and is sometimes viewed as overly nationalistic. Many British and German people prefer to express their patriotism more quietly. But in America, the atmosphere is completely different. It's the culture of one nation under God, a pride that is open, visible, and never hidden. If you happen to visit America during Flag Day, you'll witness a scene that leaves many visitors speechless. Entire neighborhoods, from elderly citizens to young children, remove their hats, place a hand over their hearts, and face the flag with complete respect. That sense of pride is also deeply rooted at the state level. In Texas, the state flag often flies beside the national flag in an equally enormous size, reflecting a strong sense of identity and independence. Many European tourists who once believed America had little history found themselves quietly reconsidering after seeing how deeply its people honored their traditions and shared values. That unity carries a surprisingly powerful energy. One skeptical fan from London later admitted on social media, after spending a week in Texas, watching pickup trucks with flags waving across the highways, I suddenly found myself falling in love with America. The American national anthem is played before almost every event, from high school football games to world-class tournaments, creating a powerful atmosphere that leaves many visitors with an unmistakable sense of pride, unity, and overwhelming national presence. There's one unspoken warning every European fan should remember before walking into any restaurant in America. Forget every idea of portion sizes you brought from home. Here, the word moderate barely exists. The first surprise usually comes in the morning. You're exhausted, step into a cafe, and order a small cup of hot cocoa just to wake yourself up. But instead of a neat ceramic cup, the server places what feels like an entire bucket of cocoa in front of you. In the United States, a small drink is often the same size as a large, or even the biggest option, in the UK or France. If you confidently order a large serving of potato chips, expect an overflowing portion packed with enough calories to replace all 3 meals of the day. A full rack of grilled ribs here can weigh nearly 20 ounces, a portion that, in Europe, would easily be shared among 4 people. The burgers and hot dogs sold around World Cup host cities are so enormous that they seem to ignore every standard of size. One Scottish tourist laughed, "I felt like I needed to unhinge my jaw like a snake just to take a bite of this thing." And it's not just the portions that surprise visitors. It's the unexpected food combinations as well. Picture sweet pancakes covered in maple syrup, served beside salty sausages and crispy bacon on the very same plate. For many British visitors, that sounds like culinary heresy, yet Americans enjoy it without a second thought. Then you walk into a supermarket to grab snacks for the football match, only to be surrounded by 42 different flavors of potato chips lining the shelves. That overwhelming level of abundance can quickly leave visitors with an unexpected feeling of guilt. There is simply so much food that finishing it all seems almost impossible. And after seeing family-sized meal bundles large enough to feed an entire hungry army, many European visitors couldn't help but question the true cost behind such extraordinary abundance. After spending a month immersed in football, traveling across different states, and meeting hundreds of local people, many European fans reached one unexpected conclusion. They realized that the world, or at least much of the European media, owed America a sincere apology. For years, countless international headlines had portrayed America as rude, shallow, violent, and unsafe. People were led to believe that simply walking the streets of America meant constantly facing danger and uncertainty. But the reality they experienced told a completely different story. Hundreds of thousands of visitors witnessed it firsthand and were genuinely surprised to discover a country that felt far friendlier, kinder, and safer than they had been led to expect. The cleanliness and careful planning of cities like Boston and Kansas City challenged the long-standing stereotype that American cities were chaotic and disorderly. Many tourists admitted it felt as though they had been misled by the media back home for years. America is certainly not a perfect nation. It has its own challenges and deep-rooted problems. But the distance between the image often presented in the news and the reality experienced by visitors proved to be remarkably wide. Instead of the chaotic picture many expected, America revealed itself as a country rich in culture, blessed with breathtaking natural beauty, and filled with genuinely welcoming people. This World Cup became far more than just a sporting event. For many European fans, this became one of the greatest journeys of breaking long-held stereotypes they had ever experienced. It reminded them of an old lesson that still holds true. Never judge a book by its cover, and never judge an entire nation only through the opinions of people watching from across an ocean. 10 unforgettable experiences, 10 powerful culture shocks, and perhaps hundreds of misconceptions were left behind. Through the eyes of European World Cup visitors, America was no longer just a glamorous yet distant Hollywood movie. It became a living reality, immense, energetic, excessive, yet filled with remarkable warmth. Some things make you shake your head at the level of waste, while others make you lower your head in respect for the kindness people show one another. This country feels like a giant microscope, enlarging every part of everyday life beyond anything most visitors have ever imagined. If you enjoyed today's stories and perspectives, be sure to like this video, share it with friends or family planning a future trip, and subscribe with notifications turned on so you never miss our next journey exploring cultures from around the world. Note: the content in this video is based on available statistics, real-life personal experiences, and collected opinions from the international travel community. It was created to share cultural perspectives, entertain viewers, and encourage thoughtful discussion. This video is not intended to attack, insult, or promote prejudice against any country, political system, or individual. All images and opinions are presented for reference based on the period in which the video was produced.